Right, and here we are. So, hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Healing Conversations. My name is Einav Avni, Untitled Coaching, and with me today, Jenny Trimble. Jenny, hello. So nice to have you here.
Hello, hello. I am so glad to be here with you. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity.
That's wonderful. Tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what is it that we're going to talk about today.
Well, first off, I'm a wife and mom, and I'm also a doTERRA wellness advocate. So I am passionate about helping people make real changes in their lives, either their physical health, their emotional health, or their energetic health, so that they can be the best version of themselves.
Right. So, how are you doing that? What does that entail?
Oh, that's such a big question. So I use essential oils. So essential oils is my modality of choice, and I like working with the entire person. So when I connect with the person, I like to um, connect with them about what's going on with their physically. We chat a little bit about the emotions that are arising for them on a daily basis. And we also chat about their story that they've had and their current results. So when we put this entire picture together, we are able to decipher how we can best help that person. And my modality is through the use of essential oils
Mhm.
because essential oils work on the physical level. They address the physical body, they address the emotional body. We can actually even put a drop of oil in our hands, inhale it for 2 minutes or less, and change our brain chemistry. So they work physically, they work emotionally, they work on the subconscious level, but they also work on the energetic level all at the same time. So it's a beautiful healing modality that is able, it's perfect for everybody.
Right. And essential oils, of course, we've all heard of them. At least I have, and so I assume that everyone else has heard of them. But I am curious. I want to know a little bit more about essential oils and how they come about, and how are you actually using them to elicit this healing. And also, I'm also interested in what you're saying. Someone comes to you, and then you want to hear about the physical challenges and the emotional ones and the story. So I want to dig in or dive in a little bit deeper into all of this.
Sure. Well, I think the first question is, what are essential oils? So, essential oils are the lifeblood of the plant. They're the little sacs on the outside of the plant, and what those little sacs are filled with oil. That oil is the lifeblood of the plant. It is what keeps the plant healthy and free from disease. And similarly, it can help us with our physical body, help us stay physically and emotionally healthy. So that was an answer to your first question
Yeah.
is how do essential oils help? Can you guide me and ask me that second question again? You asked me like three.
Yes,
Also.
absolutely. So we have these essential oils, and I know, as you said, or you mentioned before, maybe just to me, that the essential oil is the concentrated essence of the flower or the plant. And now I want to know, how are you connecting it with the well-being of a person? So someone comes to you and they have a physical challenge or emotional one. How are you connecting between what they're going through and the plants?
That is a beautiful question. And I think that leads me into my story. So when I first came to essential oils, the first thing that I did was I took a class. I took a class to learn how to use the oils, and I learned that the oils were the lifeblood of the plant. I learned that you can use the oils in three different ways. So, as I described a moment ago, you can use them aromatically, because when we use them aromatically, we can affect our mood and our limbic system.
Mm-hmm.
When we use a diffuser and we put those molecules into the air, we can cleanse the air, but we can actually change the mood of our home. So everybody in the room gets the physical and the emotional benefits of that. As a matter of fact, I described that I was feeling less than ideal. So I had some eucalyptus and some peppermint in the breathe in the diffuser.
Mm-hmm.
And overnight, my airways cleared up significantly. So when you put something into the air, number one, you use less oil. Number two, it opens up your respiratory system, works on the physical and the emotional level, and helps everybody. So one of the ways that you can use essential oils is aromatically, either just topically shifting your mood or just one-on-one shifting your mood, or putting them in the diffuser and helping everyone around you. The other way is to apply it topically. So you can apply it physically directly to the skin. Now, when I came to essential oils, I was dealing with some physical hip pain. So I applied our deep blue oil on the outside of my hip, and I found that my hip felt better. I was dealing with some digestive discomfort and some extra swelling in my belly. So I applied the Digest Zen oil, and I found that my digestive system worked a lot better, and the swelling went down, and it was like, oh, this is great. And then I applied Breathe to my chest, and it opened up my airways. So when I discovered that everything that I needed them for physically, they worked, that was a big revelation. A few years later, someone said, you need to use these oils you need to go through this course and learn how to use oils emotionally. Well, I thought I was a pretty emotionally balanced, resilient person, very emotionally intelligent. I didn't think I needed this. But what I discovered in the process is that I became an entirely different person. And when I look back at who I am now versus who I was then I was dealing with tremendous amounts of fear and anxiety. In fact, I would go to sit down at my computer or pick up my phone and make a phone call, and I just couldn't do it. I would find myself procrastinating. I would find excuses. All kinds of things would come up. So fear and anxiety was a big deal. Confidence, doubt, worry, some self love issues. There were all of these things, and anger. There were a lot of things that I just wasn't saying. And
Mm-hmm.
so my body was experiencing anger, and I was very tight and tense. And then at the end of this 12-week course, I had a knockdown drag out with a loved one. And I found myself saying to this person, wow, you really feel strongly about this. Why haven't you told this to me before? What steps can we make to change this? And it was at that moment that I go, oh my goodness, I am responding. I am not reacting. This is different. And I knew I'd made a huge change. So I dived into how to deal with the oils emotionally. I read all the books. I worked with the best experts. In fact, I think I have some of the books memorized at this point. So I loved that. And last year I was introduced to the work of Joe Dispenza. And when I realized that I can plug in the way that I'm using the oils physically and emotionally with the concept of heart coherence and brain coherence to improve your energy, then it became really exciting because then I started using my oils with my visualizations, with my affirmations, with my meditations, with my yoga. And then that's when the magic started happening. So um, I know that was a long answer. All of
Brilliant. Long answers are good. I want to ask a little bit more about that.
sure.
Tell me a little bit more about this. You know how you connected with the work of Joe Dispenza. Of course, I think a lot of people have heard about him and his methods and the miracles that his methods bring to people. How is that connected to you? If you can just explain a little bit more about that.
Sure. So, as I said, I was working with the oils physically, I was working with the oils emotionally. And so If I had a physical challenge that presented itself, I would look up the information on my app or in my book, and I would, pick up an oil and I would use it in that way. If I was dealing with an emotion, then I would go over to my oils with my emotions book, and I could decipher how to use them. When I came to the work of Joe Dispenza, I was already incredibly familiar with it. So the way that all of that came into play is I devoured all of his lectures and all of his books and completely dived into his teachings. And what I found is that the oils work on the physical, the emotional, and the energetic level. And I've gotten very good at being able to not only move my emotions and elevate my emotions, but help others elevate their emotions. And how all of this connects together is what I found is that number one, when I apply oils before meditation, I'm able to get deeper into that meditation. Number two, because I'm already familiar with how energy moves in the body, I am able to use my mind to move that energy more effectively, and also to get into that heart coherence and to get into that space of moving energy throughout the day. Additionally, if I, Albert Einstein said that when we match the frequency of the reality that we're trying to create, that's when we will attain that reality. It's not philosophy, it's physics. So here's this frequency of who we want to be, and here's where we are. So when we can bring ourselves up to that frequency, then that's when we become that person that we want to be. Well, the oils have resonance. They have frequency. You can actually measure their resonance. Okay. And your heart is magnetic, your brain is electric. Essential oils have resonance. They're the lifeblood of the plant. They're, in essence, liquid sunshine or liquid electricity. So when you apply an oil physically or inhale it aromatically, or with doTERRA oil specifically, you can take it internally. You change your body's frequency. You change your body's resonance. That resonance rises and you're elevating at a higher frequency. And so if we're wanting to match the frequency of what we want, we need to think about who it is that we are becoming. And we can use oils to do that. For instance, I have a power statement. My power statement is I am a powerful, confident, inspiring leader. Okay. So if I were thinking about resonances that match my power statement, I would combine the resonance of ginger. So ginger is a very strong oil. It's very warming. It creates movement. It works on the digestive system. It helps to soothe the digestive system. But it's also the oil of empowerment, and it helps you to step into your power. So ginger would help to anchor in that power statement. I am a powerful, confident, inspiring leader. You can see I'm holding bergamot right now. Bergamot is the oil of self-confidence. And so bergamot increases a person's self-confidence. So by combining ginger and bergamot, that would increase my frequency. Now I'm going to dial it up because I want to be an inspiring leader. So I'm adding in blue tansy. And blue tansy is the oil of inspired action. So let's just say that I wanted to step into, I am a powerful, confident, inspiring leader. and I wanted to resonate at that frequency, I can either put some of those drops of bergamot, ginger, and blue tansy in my diffuser, or I can put those in a roller bottle. So they could go in the diffuser. I can diffuse it aromatically, or they can go in a roller bottle and I can apply it topically. And let's see, ginger, bergamot, blue tansy. Ginger and bergamot are able to be taken internally. Blue tansy is not. So I could even take my bergamot and my ginger internally to increase that frequency a little bit more. When you combine that with your meditation, with your affirmations, with your visualizations, with tapping or any other modality, then
Mm.
it just magnifies it. So your essential oils are an accelerant. They are like that the extra thing that you put on the fire and you squirt it on the fire and it goes woo. Okay.
Right.
That's what your essential oils are going to do to any modality that you're using. So
Yeah.
when I was introduced to Joe Dispenza, I put my oils with his science, and it was like, and my meditate the power of my meditations is insane. Truly, it is really amazing because I'm able to know what frequency it is that I'm aiming for.
Mm.
Um, and I can apply those oils before I go into my meditation, which helps me to better able to match it. But even so, I've used the oils so much that I have the ability to, is I'm in my meditation and I'm trying to create those elevated emotions that he talks about. So many times for so many people, it is challenging to call up an elevated emotion. You're like, how do I feel love? I'm feeling very hateful right now. I'm not feeling much love.
Yeah.
So we could do one of two things. We could either apply the rose oil so that we feel some love, or we could, for me right now, I've gotten so accustomed to using oils that I don't even need to apply the oil. I know what rose feels like.
Right.
So when he says embrace a feeling of love, I go, "Ooh, I know what love feels like," and I can almost feel that vibration, and I can energetically apply it to my heart. So
Mm.
um, the oils have a resonance, the oils have a frequency, the oils are liquid electricity. And by applying liquid electricity or inhaling liquid electricity or even thinking about liquid electricity, you can increase your frequency, your vibration.
Right. So that's really interesting, actually, to, as you say, to use the essential oils to get you into that place. There's obviously how you feel physically because you've used the essential oils, and then of course you can, as you mentioned with the rose, you were able to think back. It's now like you've anchored a smell with a vibration, and you can just bring it up just like that. So that's really interesting. But I think one of the biggest questions that I have is really, how do we know, as the lame person, how do we know which essential oil to use when and with what emotion and with what we want to manifest or bring into our lives?
Absolutely. Well, honestly, the first thing that I would say is you need someone helping you. Um, the first thing that you need to do is you need to attend a class so that you can learn about these oils.
Mhm.
We are schooled in how to use chemical pharmaceuticals. We know that it says, open up the container, take one or two as an adult, and don't take any more. We're
Mhm.
not schooled in essential oils. And so it is a different modality. Like with the Tylenol, I can take one and I can't take another one or I might overdose. With essential oils, it's actually less oil more frequently. And that's something that you can learn in a basic class. So I have a basic class on how to use them physically, I have a basic class on how to use them emotionally. Now, I would advise working with someone, either myself or a friend, to help you to develop your plan of what is going to work best for you. So, the way that we would do that is, I just connect with you. I find out what you're dealing with physically, I find out what you're dealing with emotionally, and then I help you make your plan and get accustomed to using these. Because, I remember when I first got my oils, it was very overwhelming. And it was way easier to just reach for the Tylenol or reach for the digestive aid that I needed for my digestion at that time. So what I did is I challenged myself. I put my pharmaceuticals 2 shelves up so that I would have to reach for them. Uh, when I purchased my oils, I purchased a small set of oils and I purchased a book. So when I had a headache, I would go to the book, I would look up headache, and it would tell me what oil to use, and I would use that oil and I would feel better. So the first thing is have a class so that you can learn the differences between this modality and traditional modality. You can learn all of the safety about it. The second thing was connect with someone to make your own personal plan. But then the third thing is make sure you're equipped with reference books. So as long as you have a book or an app and you have a set of oils, if you know what you're dealing with, then you can look it up in the book or you can look it up on the app and you can be empowered to take care of your health. I mean, you could call me, but if you call me, I know we're in different time zones. I might be sleeping and I might not be able to help you. But if I connect you with your app or with your book and you have something that comes up at, 5 in the morning, then you can look that up and you can have that at your fingertips. So I want you to learn from me long enough to be able to get started. But then what you'll find is that we can give you access to the resources that you need, and you'll just take that and move that one step further.
Right. So, do you have a reference? One of the reference book that you would recommend for people that they just want to have a look at the dictionary between emotions and the essential oils that they might want to use?
That's a great question. So, as far as reference books, now the first place that I would go is I would go to doTERRA.com. doTERRA.com is an absolutely fabulous resource, and I know it's incredibly surprising. But if you go up and you use the search bar and you type for sleep, then it's going to pop down with all kinds of products that are good for sleep, but it's also going to pop down with a bunch of scientific articles about sleep. And then if you click another button, it will type in all of the articles that are on the blog about how to make lavender bath salts or lavender lemonade. So you can look up information about the individual oils on the doTERRA website, or you could look up, let's just say you're having some challenges with sleep or with muscle aches. You can type in sleep or muscle aches and it will pop up. So the first place would be doTERRA. The second place is I use a book called the Modern Essentials book. There's also a book called The Oil Life, which is really good. Those are what I look to for the physical level, and those are also in app form. So Modern Essential or Oil Life, those are in app form for the physical challenges. For the emotional challenges, I just happen to have them right here. But I use 2 different books. I use one, Essential Emotions is really, really helpful. This other one is Elements of Emotion. So this one is by a collection of authors. This is the 10th edition. And this is by Desiree Delaunay. So both Essential Emotions and Elements of Emotion. And Essential Emotions has an app that goes with it. So if a person wanted the app form. So doTERRA.com, Modern Essentials, Essential Emotions, and then the apps.
I see. Thank you for that. So tell me, you mentioned that when people come to you, you ask about the physical side of things and also the emotional ones. Do you find that is it related? Do you need to use the same oil for both? How does that work to actually investigate what is actually going on and what it is that you then recommend for them?
Honestly, most of the time I just start with the physical. It's way easier. And just a quick little story. So last spring, not last spring, it was actually in the spring of 2020, I had been completely healthy all of my life. My blood pressure was 110/70. And even during pregnancy, the highest it got was 135. And she's like, "Your blood pressure's at 135. It's a little high today." I was like, "Oh, yeah." In the spring of 2020, my blood pressure unexpectedly one day shot to 170/110. Um, that was a big change.
Mm.
And with it came a lot of physical symptoms. So for about a month and a half, I felt like I was going to have a heart attack at any time, honestly. And that was incredibly stressful with 4 children. I also had digestive challenges with that. And you can imagine the anxiety that came along with that, knowing that you have 4 children. Um, that was a big deal. And emotionally, I've got some really great mentors. I've got some really great friends. I was trying to figure it out, but I couldn't. And so what I did is I turned to my oils, and I looked in my book and decided to do a Symphony of the Cells, which is a massage. It's a massage technique that you do topically with essential oils.
Mhm.
So I did Symphony of the Cells, and I knew my cardiovascular system needed assistance, and I knew my nervous system needed assistance. I didn't know what was going on emotionally. So I did these protocols, and it was really amazing. Actually, I had my husband, I could do them myself, but it was way easier if my husband applied them. So I had my husband do them, and it was really incredible because the minute that he started applying the oils, my nervous system and my body relaxed,
Mhm.
and I felt better physically. Okay. Um, through trial and error, I found by looking in the book, and it said use Melissa oil for this particular thing. There was one day my blood pressure was skyrocketed high. I put Melissa oil on, and I could feel it falling as I applied the oil. It was phenomenal. But you asked about how do you know? Well, the thing is you don't necessarily need to know.
Right.
Um, the body is incredibly brilliant. And if you know you have a physical issue and you're using oils for physical purposes, it's kind of like a medication. When you take a medication that goes in your body where it needs to go. When you're using an essential oil that goes in your body where it needs to go. So I was doing these protocols for my physical body. My physical body got better. My emotional body got better. And then I was actually able to help someone else who had a very similar issue. So we did the protocol for cardiovascular for me, and we did the protocol for nervous system. And
Mhm.
within a month and a half, and I was using pharmaceuticals along with that. But within a month and a half, I was back to normal. Uh,
Yeah.
which was good. And then I had a friend of mine, and again, she was going through a very similar thing. So for her, it was the cardio protocol, the forgiveness protocol, and the digestive protocol. She was dealing with significant heart palpitations, actually. And it was debilitating. She couldn't lead her life. She would lay down and rest in the middle of the day. Um, so we started embracing these protocols, and about midsummer, I called her, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm out painting the house. I'm going to take a little rest, and then I'm going to cut down some blackberries." I was like, "Oh, okay." But then since then, she has continued to use oils and do protocols, and I have watched this person, and she has changed from a person who was very doubtful and unsure and anxious and, oh, should I do this? Should I do that? To very confident, very inspiring. She's actually one of my most powerful leaders right now. So,
Mhm.
um, the oils are going to go in, they're going to do the job. You don't necessarily have to think about it.
Right.
Although I will say, if you're doing the affirmations and you're doing the visualizations and you're doing the meditations and you're deliberately thinking about it, you can affect change in a much shorter amount of time. So
Right.
you can step into the point that you want to step in. You can, you can go as small as getting a set of oils and a book and using the oils to take care of your family, or um, you can dive into the deep end of the pool. You can look at the physical and the emotional. You can completely integrate it into your life, which is what I've done.
Yeah.
Or it can be a part of your life. And either way, it's going to improve things for you physically, emotionally, and otherwise.
Yeah. Well, I'm a practitioner of the emotion and body code, and in the body code, part of the things when I heal, I don't heal when I do the energy healing when people. Sometimes I would be directed to the area of the app, which is basically about the essential oils. So it's always really interesting to kind of look it up, look at the essential oil that we've been recommended that the person is going to use, and see the benefits and how it is always so connected to the challenges that they're going through. But it's always really interesting, my experience with most of the people that I speak about this, the essential oils with. It's always that kind of, do I really need that? That is kind of the first question. Do I really need that? And I always say, your subconscious mind directed us, for you to get hold of this essential oil, because basically it means that it will help you balance your physical, emotional state. So it is really interesting for me to see it from the practitioner point of view, that actually the subconscious mind really knows what you might need. And then when if you choose to start using it, I really believe that the change is quite incredible. I've seen it for myself as well. I have a battery of essential oils already.
Yes.
but,
And
but
and I love emotion code. Emotion code I find is so fascinating. And so, emotion code in essential oils is beautiful because what happens is as you go through the emotion code, you pull up that emotion that you're dealing with and then you pull it out of the body, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, we really want that person to embrace the changes. So the reason that I would encourage them to go ahead and grab that oil that is recommended by their subconscious is we used the word anchor earlier, but that oil really anchors in the new changes. It's like it integrates it. It causes your body to say, that's not the pattern anymore. This is the new pattern. This is the new self. I'm going to step into this. And
Right.
so it's like what encourages your body to hold that chiropractic adjustment.
Mm.
You get the chiropractic adjustment and then you do the exercises to hold it. The essential oils, after having released the emotion, the essential oils would help you to anchor it in and hold that new energetic state.
Right. So tell me, is there something? Can someone go wrong with essential oils? What are some things that people should be aware of? Not to do or overdo, or something. What are the things that people need to pay attention to?
Okay. So, the first thing that I would say is I would always, always, always choose a very high grade therapeutic oil. Um, I love doTERRA because I absolutely know that these are 100% pure.
Hmm.
And they have the supplement facts on the label. Oh, there's my camera. They have the supplement facts on the label, which in the US means that they are on the generally regarded as safe list by the FDA. So if it has supplement facts on the label, that means that you can take it internally. I know that doTERRA oils have been tested 54 times by third party and as well as by doTERRA. Um, I also know that doTERRA sources their oils wherever a plant grows natively so that it has the highest amount of healing components.
Hmm.
And then we carefully monitor the conditions. So we know what time of year that needs to be harvested, even down to what time of day. doTERRA keeps records on their oils, and they can even tell us the amount of rainfall that plant has had. So there's a number on the bottom of the bottle where you can call doTERRA and get that information. Or you could even go to source2u.com and you can enter this number and you can see the test that we run. We put our results on the web for
Hmm.
anybody and everybody to see. So I know that doTERRA oils, they're certified, they're pure, they're tested, they're a very high quality oil, and these are the oils that I feel the most confident in using. Additionally, I will say that I've done a little bit of frequency testing with these oils, and I've done some frequency testing, the energy testing described in David Hawkins' book, Power versus Force. My friends and I gathered together with a collection of oils because we wanted to see whose oils had the highest frequency. And we all, turned away from each other and did the energy testing. And consistently, the doTERRA oils came out as the highest frequency every single time. So
Mhm.
personally, this is the only brand that I would choose.
Right. So what? I don't know if we actually touched on the what people shouldn't do, but
Oh, thank you for reminding me of that question. No, you're I appreciate that. So what people shouldn't do. So this is a citrus oil. This is photosensitive. So that means that if you apply it to your skin and then you go out into the sunshine, you will get a sunburn. So
right.
please be sure, if it is a citrus oil, to apply it in a place where the sun doesn't shine, please. On the bottoms of your feet is always appropriate. So you can always put an oil on the bottoms of the feet. Okay. The other thing, as far as safety, less oil more often is a good plan. So instead of taking 10 drops all at once, it's actually more beneficial for your body to use one drop 10 times a day than 10 drops all at once. Upper limit so again, doTERRA is the only oil that I would use internally. Upper limit for taking internally is 25 drops a
Mhm.
day. And it's not that that is too much. It's just that your body can't process that much. Similarly with, um, the one drop versus the 10, it, you can use more, but you don't need to, because these oils are so potent and so powerful. So we get in this mindset of more is better. No, less oil more often is actually better.
Okay.
Um,
Thank you.
so I don't think that there's a way to be unsafe with them. There are guidelines as far as children and pregnancy and infants. So
Mhm.
if a person has sensitive skin, then you do want to make sure that you dilute. If it is a child or an elderly person, then it's 1 tablespoon of oil and 2 to 3 drops of essential oil. If it's just an adult, it's 1 teaspoon of oil and 2 to 3 drops of essential oil. So be sure that you dilute. Using around pets, don't use around cats. Cats are not great with essential oils.
No.
Um,
Right.
and then if you're diffusing around, diffusing is generally okay, even with cats, but always leave the door open so that your pets have the choice of being able to leave the
Yeah.
room if they want to.
Yeah. No, that's great advice. So before we finish, maybe you can tell me what I understand that a lot of the time you basically you match the person and their troubles to the essential oil that you recommend. But what are two or three essential oils that are always nice to have in the house for just to general uplifting and I don't know calming down or relaxation or something along those lines?
Okay. Great question. So, as far as essentials go, frankincense is the do everything oil. If you only have one oil, you can use frankincense and it will likely work.
Yeah.
Tea tree is another oil that I use all of the time. It's helpful for scalp, it's helpful for skin, it's helpful for um, basically anything. And it's also the oil of overwhelm. So I use this frequently for that. Balance is an oil that I use all of the time to balance my moods, to balance my emotions, to balance my hormones. So I
Which one is
use
that?
balance.
But this is the name of the oil.
Mhm. That's the name of
Okay.
the oil. Breathe is one that I use very frequently for my respiratory system. On Guard is one that I use very frequently to boost my immune system. I know you asked for a few, but man, I love giving you all the suggestions.
Oh,
Deep
yeah.
blue if a person is dealing with pain, and then lemon I found is just incredibly helpful. So keeping lemon in the diffuser really helps with clarity, focus, and productivity. So just a quick recap: frankincense is the do everything oil. Always have your frankincense. Tea tree for overwhelm. Uh, Deep blue for pain. On guard for immunity, breathe for respiratory, and lemon for focus, clarity, and productivity.
I definitely get this idea that I need to find a little bit more about my my essential oils. I think when we spoke before, I have the frankincense, however you say frankincense here. I've got a few more, but it is fascinating. It's fascinating, because of everything that I already know. It's so interesting to think actually how can I influence my well-being and my clients' well-being even more using the essential oils. It's to me it's definitely a fascinating topic.
Yes, I would love to chat with you more about emotion code. That could be fun.
Yes, yes. Absolutely. So we're coming to the end of our conversation. Jenny, it was incredible to talk with you, and thank you so much for being here and for your beautiful wisdom and all the advice. Any last message before we finish? Anything you want to leave our listeners with?
Um, well, I did, if you want further knowledge, I can tell you how to join my group.
Yes,
Um,
please.
it,
Well, we're going to put all of your social links at the bottom of the conversation, but please do tell us about your group.
So I actually have a beautiful event happening right now, Emotion, Energy, and Essential Oils. So if this conversation has fascinated you, hop on over to the group Passion, Purpose, and Persistence on Facebook, and you can absolutely access all of that information. As far as wisdom, I would say the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. So tiptoe if you have to, but take whatever next step that you need to move forward on your health journey.
I love it. I love it. Tiptoe if you need, or take the first step. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Jenny. It's been really a pleasure to talk with you. And we will leave, as I said, all your social links and everything underneath this chat, so people can access your knowledge and your group and everything. And yes, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your wisdom and your time.
Well,
Thank you
I
so much.
appreciate you. Thank you so much. To
Thank
be
you.
here.